I'd like to welcome you guys back to part 2 of the TNT episode with Mr. Daff here. And if you're just now tuning in, this was a breakpoint that we found to just split them up because it was a long video. If you're just now tuning in, go back to find part 1. We'll put somewhere on the screen or in the description where you can get that. But that said, it might be a little bit dry, but we'll transition over and you'll hear us kind of pick up the conversation that we were having.
So, going back to the original point of how we met.
True. Side stories and so forth. So we got through you going to K9 school or K9 training, and then meeting on the Twitch.
Yeah, meeting on the Twitch. We talked about the paint group. We talked about like just being and then you getting me into. So I was doing the D&D stuff, and then eventually I was like, "Ooh, those Warhammer models look cool."
Yeah.
And I was working a lot of overtime, and I was like, I got a little bit of disposable income.
Gotta work.
Why not throw it to
GW?
Yeah. Why not throw it to GW? They need my money so bad.
Yeah. And they will happily take it.
And they will take it.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I bought, I think it was one of the starter sets, but it had the Nurgles and the Space Marines in it. Or not say the Nurgles. The Death Guard.
Yeah.
It had the Death Guard versus the Space Marines, and what was that, 8th or 9th edition or something like that?
One of those.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
So I bought that box, and it was damn near $200. I was like,
it's only gone up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and now I look at like the Combat Patrol boxes, and I bought one of those at one point. It was $85. Now they're $140 for the same amount of models.
It's crazy, dude. Like the lore's great. I just can't keep up.
Space Marine 2 was a great game. I enjoyed playing it.
Still don't have it.
I know. You don't want to fall into that trap. But
I don't.
Space Marine 2 was a great game. I enjoyed playing it. I enjoyed I sat down and let Tristan play it and watch it when we were just killing Tyranids.
Yeah, if they brought out a Dawn of War that wasn't poop, I knew Dawn of War, I'd get it. Dawn of War 3 was a tragedy. Dawn of War 1 and 2 are great. I would get a fourth one. Space Marine 2 is probably good. It's just, I also, to be honest with you, I have so many games to play that, like, by the time I get around to that one, it's probably going to be on sale for $20.
Probably.
It's going to happen.
Yep. So, yeah, I got into the Space Marine aspect I was like, oh, cool. So then I started buying Space Marine models that I could paint up, and I think I had amassed, like, roughly 1,750 to 2,000 points of Space Wolves that I had painted, or was waiting to paint and build.
Yep.
And then I ended up not being, like, you were trying to always get me to come up with, to play games with you for Warhammer, and that never ended up panning out because of whatever reason was going on at the time, and whatever excuse I was coming up with for some BS, or some BS happening in my life. And we were doing that, and then you stopped doing Warhammer stuff and transitioned away from Warhammer stuff just because you're playing a grind to keep up with that.
Yeah. And
on top of the price increases.
They also retired, so like Iron Warriors, partial way through, they were retiring things I was using. They made new rules for Crimson or Imperial Fist that have traditionally been the counterpart, but the exact same rules. One was good, one was bad, and they made them just better overnight. Like Wheels played me, his rules just literally overnight were better. And I got tabled. I had 100 and something models on the table, and he destroyed every one of them without even trying. And at that point, I'm like, this is stupid. And then with the Dark Angels, they said they were not going to retire the OG Space Marines, and then time and time again, they kept putting out new Primaris that were the true scale Marines of the OGs. Then they took all of my characters, put them into Legends, and said, oh, you can still use them, but we're never going to update the rules again. I'm like, cool, so my whole army's invalidated. And I had spent all that time, and I wasn't even finished painting the Firstborn Marines yet. I was almost done. And then I was like, so now I have to start my whole army again? And I packed it up and I stopped because I was not going to do. I spent, like, when I paint minis, like if a bust is me giving 110%, when I paint Warhammer, I'm giving like 90% to the infantry. So I have squads of attack Marines that I spent 5 to 10 hours per model on for a 10-man squad, which is stupid.
Yeah.
So then you're looking at that. And
your average painter that goes and plays those things, like they either send them their part of their army off to commission them to do that. You weren't going to do that.
No.
But like at the same time, you were also playing. Like, you were playing in matches at different events and stuff like that.
Well, I didn't play events for that. I only did films, and then I would play occasionally. Yeah, I didn't do any tournaments. I've not done a single tournament for 40K. I won't do it. The rule set I don't think is tight enough for a tournament. So, like, every tabletop wargame I've ever played, I have competed in tournaments and or been a TO except 40K. I won't do it. because I think that the rule set's not tight enough because things change too frequently, and GW has been caught making rules good to sell models. Then when their stock drops, they did this with Tau Hammerheads. When the stock drops down, then all of a sudden the rules get updated and they're bad again. They've done this. And so like War Machine I played competitive, X-Wing I played competitive, all the old Clicks games I played, and I was TOs for all of these. And then Battletech, same thing. I've played in tournaments, but I won't touch any for 40K. I just won't.
Huh.
Yeah.
I mean, that confuses me even more as to why like the rule sets bothered you so bad, because like
so
you could say like this is like what's the like people being mad about the new D&D, like you just if you don't like the rule set for it, like don't play it.
So I chose not to play it, which is why I don't play.
Or don't play that rule set. Like you can still play the game, but
so the other people that are playing I would be filming with would also have to want to play that way, and they don't. So like the average 40K player is not, most of them aren't interested in just sitting in an old edition. Also new models are coming out, which is fine. And so for some players, you can do this in any war game, you can have agreements on what's going to be fun for everyone, so you're not just bringing some uber OP stuff.
you have the magic rule 0.
Yeah, but they start putting out stuff that people just want to play with, and it's usually not because the models look good. Because there are plenty of times in Warhammer history and GW history where a model looks good and the rules are trash. No one plays with it because they want good rules. So this example I give, which we've dropped some F-bombs on here, so I'll give this example. I used to tell people, we'll tailor this example a little bit, and not from what I actually said. If GW said, this Tyranid Bad Dragon silicone model costs $200, and if you play with it and put it in the middle of the table, you win. That's all. You just put it on the table, you win. People would buy it, and they would do that. And that's a satirical example, but the point is, if you put something that is an absolute pile of shit on the table, and the GW says, or as a product GW says, the rules are good, you win, people will play with it. And that's the problem, because I was more interested in, these models look cool, I'm forging a narrative, I'm converting stuff, I'm doing stuff, I'm spending hundreds of hours on minis to go, put them on the table to have a cool narrative story so our armies can clash, we can forge this narrative. And the other person has spent the minimum time possible to get models on the table, the minimum paint time to get the best rules models on the table. And then, in this case, I will sound narcissistic, I have done them a service by putting real cool models on the table for them to look at and blow up. And they've done everyone else a disservice by spending a minimum amount of time. And that's going to sound elitist, and I know people are going to in the comments, but like, this is a visual game with painting, and you don't have to be good. Just put a little effort. And then they would come in with the minimal effort possible, with the best rules of minis possible, win games, and then when those rules got bad, they'd sell them and buy the next one. And I don't like that. Like I want to experience your art.
They're metagaming and number crunching, which is like,
and that's okay if that's what you're into. It's just not for me, so I just don't play. Like that's just
that's
what it is.
You've removed you realize that you're not on the same aspect of doing that, so you've taken the personal initiative to remove yourself from the conflict.
Yep. And now, if more people in our local meta were interested in playing that way, cool. Or you did want to play with the really good rules minis and also painted them to look cool, so we do have a cool thematic, thing on the table. Well, then that's one thing I can't complain about. And it's going to sound arrogant. It's not meant to, because it doesn't have to be painted well. It's all effort. So if you painted your army the best you can and it doesn't stack up to Golden Demon, that's okay. I'm still experiencing in your headcanon what your story, your narrative is, what your characters are, what that sergeant's name is for you, your HQs, what they mean, the battles.
The Battletech, my when we did the battle report for my Battletech stuff, my Battletech stuff is not painted the best at all. And it was funny because a couple weeks after we did that, you found the post on Everything Battletech where the guy, like the paint scheme for those, the description was in the CSO.
Camo Specs,
Yeah, the Camo Specs website. The description was in there. I was like, oh, this description sounds really cool. No models have I ever seen been painted for it. Like 2 weeks after we do that, and I'm like, cool, these models with like trees on them. A dude paints the exact same paint scheme. Like, and I'll give the guy credit. They looked great. He was way better at painting the flowers than I was. But at the same time, I was like, oh, what is the irony of that happening? Like, and it was funny. But like mine didn't look the best, but we're playing a game and like,
they look cool. It's immersive. You put in effort and you had a reason and a story behind it. So it's not just is it bad or is it good? Did you express yourself in some way? And I'm aware that for some people that is not what they want to do, but it's a minis game where you have to paint your model, so it's implied that you're doing some of that. I don't. Anyone who would argue against this is arguing in bad faith. It is. The games are objectively better and more immersive when all the minis are painted reasonably and look good. They don't have to be Golden Demon level. No one's expecting that. But like, if you come in and you have a bare plastic army and you play against the best painted army in the world, the most juxtaposition you can get, it breaks immersion. So like, if you put in just a modicum of effort.
And there's a difference between doing that or you and your friend going to a store and being like, hey man, I got these models.
I'm gonna try them out.
I want to try. I bought these models off of a used thing on Facebook Marketplace. Like I want to see how they work out in the rules. Like I have to learn visually versus being just reading the rules. Like they're not painted. I don't give a shit. Can we just run this list?
Yeah. So like these are all extreme examples that I give. So like I have played 40K. I played 40K for a long time. It was very common for someone to have an army that was half painted, and then they're like trying a new unit they built, and then we come back the next week and the army is 75% painted because they're playing with it while they're painting it. Yeah, you're putting in effort, and you're not just rotating out for the next meta, and like that was the thing. But like when you go in and you walk down, if I was trying to, if something was going to get me into a new war game, seeing cool painted minis, faction A and B on a table with reasonable terrain looks cool. If it's all gray plastic on flat neoprene, no 3D terrain, then I'm probably gonna be like, the sculpts are the only thing carrying the weight.
Yeah.
And like, so imagine playing as a normal visual individual who can see all the colors. Imagine playing a video game where they said, you know what? Now it's just black and white. We're not gonna give you color anymore.
So
yeah.
Funny thing about that, you ever play Ghost of Tsushima?
No.
So apparently, you know what it is, though, right?
Don't know what it is.
Ghost of Tsushima is a like samurai-based game in like feudal Japan, and like it is a very phenomenal game from what people say. Like it's a PlayStation exclusive, I think, but it's a very phenomenal game. And you just reminded me of something. I'm going off a little tangent. Ghost of Tsushima was like made to be like a work of art movie from like those old like Japanese films, I guess. Okay. There was a theme to it for it to be like that and feel like you're in that with like, because they do a lot of the I haven't played it, but from what I understand, there is a lot of the forms of like stances for you to be transitioning to the stances. You get to do different moves, and like that's part of the fighting style of the game and combat in the game. But they released a mode for the game to where it's called, I think it's called the Director's Cut Edition or something like that, and you can do the game in like that black and white visual aspect. But it lends itself to the fact that it is based around those black and white samurai movies from the old days. Yeah,
which that makes sense because that's more of an artistic thing. Let's give a better example. Let's say we're playing Space Marine 2 and they replaced all the Space Marine models with stick figures. It doesn't like now if you play it, it's for the meme, but like on all the Tyranids are replaced with jelly beans, and all of a sudden your game doesn't look like that. Well, let's just go one step further and like
obviously when you said you didn't play Skyrim, you have not put the Thomas the Tank Engine mod on there.
No, yeah, and because you can mod everything, but it's the point like once you start removing the layers of the visuals that make Space Marine appealing, it no longer becomes Space Marine. It looks like something else. So something inherent about the visuals and the colors make that game. Yeah. For the same reason why you can play any game with any proxy. You can play Warhammer with non-Warhammer minis. But
you're breaking the like you said, you're breaking the immersion out of that. You add the mods to that, like Hogwarts Legacy has people who have done mods for Hogwarts Legacy that have helped improve the game in some aspect. But they're also somebody who have made the broom that you can ride Shrek. So you're riding Shrek. Like, all right, now I'm not. I'm just being silly, and I'm not in the game anymore.
Yeah, but if you were playing Hogwarts Legacy and you replaced all the wizards with Space Marines with wands, that it might be fun for the lulz, but it's like they're not wizards. Yeah. Or like you're watching Lord of the Rings and they replace the orcs with teddy bears. Why? It's no longer Lord of the Rings. So it's like the visual matters, and like
what are you saying? If you replace the basic storyline of the orcs in Lord of the Rings, and like what Tolkien originally meant for the orcs to be, that it would make a bad story arc for the orcs?
Or at least visually bad.
You haven't watched The Rings of Power, have you?
I haven't. I watched an episode or two and it just didn't grip me. Yeah.
Have you heard about the orc wives and babies that they put in there to try and make you like the orcs?
No.
Tolkien meant for the orcs to be like a purely like evil race.
Yeah, I mean they dug them out of the ground. So
that's a known thing that they are just like sometimes things are just bad.
Yeah.
Like that is their evil exists in the world. Like
Yep.
that was the point in
Yep.
the works. So but now they made them look like
Trying to humanize them.
trying to humanize
Yep,
orcs
yep.
that are evil beings. Like you're trying to humanize evil.
Yep.
Like I don't. Why?
Because reasons. I suspect that there will be. I will get some comments on this video with people, especially.
I mean, if you like the Rings of Power, that's on you.
Not that.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Like,
I'm not. I'm back on the painting thing because I suspect because it's a hot topic for Battletech community in particular because they consider people wanting painted models to be elitist, and I think that's a blanket statement that's not accurate. I think if you wanted to play a game with me and your army wasn't painted, I'd probably still play with you. I'm less interested in playing with you if your army's unpainted if it's because you went and bought the most meta tournament list you could, and then you sold it and bought the next tournament list 2 weeks later because LVO happened. Insert whatever. I'm not interested in that. If you're literally like, hey, I just got this. I'm slowly working on it. Do you want to also teach me to paint? Give me pointers, things like that. Let's have that conversation because there's lots of nuance to how this works. But the point is, like, for me, I guess, if I was trying to be more succinct, there should be more to your minis than just the stats on the table. When it comes to hobby tools and paints, Monument Hobbies has the best in the business. Their Pro Acrylic paint line offers unmatched coverage and vibrant colors, perfect for all of your miniature projects. And with high quality tools to match, you'll always be ready to create. Save 5% on your order with the coupon code ARMEDPAINTER. Elevate your hobby game with Monument Hobbies.
Like, isn't there, like, for Warhammer, like when they like, there's a minimum painting requirement for you to put a Warhammer army into?
For most tournaments, yeah, it's usually a three color minimum.
Okay.
Which is really not that hard because it's like a base color, a wash, a trim, or dry brush, and you're basing, and you're usually there. I have a three color minimum for Nova. We're very lenient. It doesn't have to be great. No one's asking for tournament level stuff, but it breaks immersion when one force isn't painted and one is, and it's a fact that like it's more immersive when both all the things on the table look cool.
Okay.
But the where was I going? The minis, your minis should be more to you and to your opponent than just the sum of the rules.
Yeah.
And there are sometimes I play with Battletech minis that I think they look goofy and the rules are pretty good. Like the Fire Moth is good. It looks stupid.
It looks goofy.
It looks stupid to me. But for every time I say that the Fire Moth looks dumb, someone's going to think it looks good, and that's okay because we all have different aesthetic interests. So sometimes you got some stuff. You might find like an army in Warhammer that has really cool troop choices, but the whatever choice is bad visually, but it's the only option you kind of need them to play with. You just don't like them. I like chaos, but I don't like all the spikes. There's some nuance to it. But if your only interest in the minis, even removing the painting, is just the pure rules, you're not interested in any of the aesthetics of it. It's just how good they are. Then it doesn't matter what those minis are, and then I'm not having fun with you, and a lot of other people aren't either. And to the people that are
going into a D&D campaign and you're just like, hey, that creature, just so you know, has XYZ stats, blah, 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 and like everybody else is there to play a story.
I don't care. I do not have the monster manual open. We're not max minning. I'm here to tell a story and roll some dice.
It's not going to be fun at that point.
Yeah. It's no.
Or it's not going to be fun for the majority of people. That might be your version of fun, but if you want to run a numbers game, like, or even Magic the Gathering, playing Commander against people, like our group that we play with, where, like, they were supposed to be meeting today. Like every other week, we have a group that meets at the library that my wife works at or she manages, and we play Magic the Gathering because we don't have a local store. Our town's kind of small. We don't have a local store. The closest local stores are an hour to an hour and a half away. So we meet, and like a lot of times, some people will have the Rule Zero conversation where people are like, "Hey, I have this deck. It has a card that is technically banned. Like, Commander's a casual format. Like, I don't understand why people get so bent out of shape about the ban list in Commander. Like, play with what you like.
If the card is that game breaking, just have a conversation at a time.
Well, so we had a guy. He plays a certain Eldrazi card in one of his Eldrazi decks, and he's like, "Hey, that one card is in here. If I'll play a different deck if nobody wants to play it, like, or sometimes we'll have people come and they're like, hey, I'm new to Magic, like I just got a pre-con, because I want to get into this. Can I play this or like, and we will purposely not like, we'll play the game with the person, but we'll also like we want them to have fun and experience.
You let them actually play the game.
Yeah. Or like a lot of our guys, like me, I said, hey, I'm bringing this deck, like, and I showed them the deck list, and I said, hey, I'm bringing this deck. I want to try it out because I think it's kind of funny.
Yeah. Oh,
like
the rabbits.
The rabbits.
Yeah.
The harem,
Yeah.
as me and Ben have named it.
Yeah.
And it's literally just a deck where I make a shit ton of rabbits.
Yep.
That is it. And I win by making a shit ton of rabbits.
Yep.
There's a couple different ways for me to win in there. And everybody was like, no, that's cool, man. Like, I was like, it's not a perfected list. I just want to bring it to play it to have fun. Or even like my Post Malone deck, I'm like, before I do that, before I pull that deck out, I say, hey, I'm letting you know you're going to hate me this game.
Yep.
Like, just so you know, you're going to hate me. I'm going to be that guy. And then people are like, nah, what are you talking about, man? And then a couple turns later when they can't do anything, or I don't make it to where they can't do anything. I just make it really difficult.
Yeah.
And then I do now I've changed it to where it's a mill. Like I have a mill as a separate strategy. You want to stop me from milling? Okay, cool. I'm going to turn around and start doing toxic.
Yeah.
Like that deck is a very like ability to adapt and overcome. But at the same time, like if I come in and I'm always playing that, people are like, I just don't want to play with you anymore. Like
that's just my choice. Yeah. Like I'm not having fun.
Yep. Sometimes we'll sit down and I'll play like I'll choose the group that I play with it very particularly because I'm like, hey, I have lost 5 games in a row. 3 of them have been at this table with you guys. I need to get some frustration out. I'm going to play my deck that makes other people frustrated. Yeah. And they're like, okay, man, come on. Yeah. But like at the same time, the other 3 games, they're having fun. We're doing whatever, you know?
Yeah. I think you're talking about like finding groups to play with, play
Can
games.
we take a pause? I gotta use the restroom. Okay.
Where were we at?
Sweet. We were on the subject of like talking about like tournament lists and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, sorry guys, we took a quick break. A little pee-pee time, a little poo-poo time, and we're back.
You ain't got to go all that far. Hold on. Alpha strike the like button.
So
start there.
we are back. Initially, the point I think I was going to make is Daff was talking about like playing things you want to play and not playing things you don't want to play, or with people or whatever. And I think having a conversation about what it is you want out of the game is important. So he was talking about like with Magic. Let's have a conversation. I got a pre-con commander deck, right? So do you got a deck that you feel is comparable in power so we can both have a good time? So if you and I are going to sit down to play a minis game, and my idea of a fun minis game is like, here's this narrative, fluffy, painted thing, and your idea of a game is this, I hyper-competitive, I give 0 shits about the painted aspect. We can have that conversation before we get started, and it is also equally possible we aren't interested in the same things and we choose not to play. I think that probably happens less often than you would think, because most people really just want to play, and in my experience, I'm a more casual, when I was playing 40K, a more casual 40K player. So usually when I played with people, we'd have that conversation, and it's like, you can tone down your competitive list and probably still beat me.
Yeah.
Because I'm more interested in the narrative. But if that creates for a more fun experience for both of us, we both get to enjoy the game. But if your only interest is just the winning, and mine is more the hobby, I'm not going to be a good match for you because you're just going to win. We're not going to be able to forge a narrative or enjoy the hobby because you're just going to win and you're not interested in that. So it is also possible for 2 players to have different interests in the game and just not play together. I would hope and like to think that most players will find a middle ground to have fun. Mm-hmm. But beyond GW's push with the things that they were doing, I backed away from 40K because I was more interested in the narrative and the fluff and the whole fortune narrative thing that GW used to push. That was like a phrase they said all the time because they were encouraging conversions and all that. The game became more competitive and tournament-centric, which is what people were focusing on. My interests did not line up. So I removed myself from the equation because there were people that I wasn't going to have fun playing with, and they weren't interested in playing with me. Or they might have fun or interest in playing a game, but I wasn't a challenge for them. Yeah. And then, so like, I'll give you a case in point when I played with a buddy of mine who came down to play. He won on turn 1, which is not hard to do. And then he was like, well, you might still have a chance, because I had some deep strikers. I rolled. They failed to come in. But had they come in, I was going to have to deep strike on my side of the table, because if I deep struck next to his models, he had a way to intercept and shoot them, and they would die. And I was like, you literally won in 15 minutes, man. Yeah. Like, was this fun for you? You drove an hour and a half. I live 10 minutes up the road. I'm leaving. I'm going home. Like, I was like, you knew what my list was, and I played a Tau list. It was a Highlander list in that I had like 1 Riptide, not 3. I had 1 Ghost Kill, not 3. I had a Hammerhead, not 3, whatever. So everything was a Highlander except for like my core troops. I had multiple units of Fire Warriors because those are my troops, and I had multiple units of Crisis Suits because they were troops for Farsight. But it wasn't spanned on the table. It was very just like I wanted a little bit of everything to feel fun. He came in and he beat me, and then he goes, well, you got to understand, I built a list to beat yours. And I was like, but why would you do that? You knew what I owned. You knew I wasn't actively buying more models for the Tau army. I built this cool narrative fluff visual army just to play and have a good time. You built a list specifically to counter it. Maybe that was fun for him. It wasn't fun for me, so I just went home. And he had to go play with someone else who was more competitive, and then they had a much better game because they were competitive. But like some people have different interests, and at that point, when I spent more time literally unpacking and packing minis than I did playing, and this is a very extreme case, but the same philosophy. If I spend more time packing and unpacking than playing and driving, why did I come down here? What was the point? So it's okay for you to have different interests and have that conversation, but I think that most competitive players can turn that, or they could be capable of turning it off and still have a good competitive game that they probably will still win while enjoying the other aspects of what that game has to offer. And it's just unfortunate when players can't get past the need to just win and enjoy what else there is, the meat and the potatoes of the game. Because Warhammer 40K in particular, as much as I may be a downer on it, the minis are fantastic. They got
a lot of them look good.
Yeah, objectively probably the best minis on the market. It's expensive, that's a thing, but you're paying for that premium stuff, and they also have some of the best lore. Some people will,
a lot of the artwork,
it's good. So like you can't dispute that. But if you were to, there are players that the lore doesn't matter. The minis don't matter. The winning is all that matters. And I'm like, but there's so much more to this, which is one of my frustrations with Magic, because the only thing that matters on that Magic card is what's the mana cost, what's that ability, the art. So for some people, the art matters. But at the end of the day, there are players where like, literally if they had an edition that was just black, white, no art, just pure text this, and it was all the best cards possible, they'd buy them. Like if a Black Lotus was black and white with no picture, but you had the effect and the picture of dog shit on it, they would buy that because it had the rules. But then I look at Magic and I'm like, but some of these cards have such cool looking art, and I'm visual like, if I did it, am I summoning a real guy? Like I'm trying to forge a narrative with Magic, but to other players, they don't care.
But that is one aspect of why, like when I started playing Commander again, or not again, when I started playing Commander, I legitimately had bought a Magic deck when the D&D set came out.
Yep.
The original D&D one that they had, because I like D&D stuff. Like I've read the Dritz series. I've read a lot of the books from that. A couple of the other ones. There was one that was like another Forgotten Realms book series. It was based on a wizard. The wizard was like he was a Griffin rider, and it was like it was a really cool book series. There's another one with a pirate going on the Astral Sea. That one was good. I like those kind of things. And Jarlaxle Banray, I'm probably messing up the pronunciation of that name. Jarlaxle is easily one of my favorite characters in D&D lore, because he's that dude that like he doesn't give a shit and he's OP for no reason. Like he's like, I have plot armor and I fucking know it. Like he just strolls up. But I bought that D&D deck because I like the race of tieflings, and it had a tiefling commander in it. Yep. And I was like, oh, this deck looks pretty cool. Like, I don't know what a treasure token is, but I'm going to do it. It's Prosper Tonebound, if anybody doesn't know. And Prosper Tonebound at the time, after he got done, that can very quickly become a CEDH or competitive.
Elder Dragon Highlander.
Yeah, Elder Dragon Highlander. It can be a competitive commander. And, like, I have that deck where it's really high level. Like, it's a pretty high level thing. I can take a 30-minute turn, do everything I want to play out of my deck. I don't have any auto wins in there, but I could do some stuff with that deck, and it's pretty up there. And I played with just the pre-con version again when I met with that group, our group that we went, because my wife somebody approached her with the library about renting the room to do that. Yeah. She's like, oh yeah, my husband plays. He was into Magic when he was younger, so I sold all my Pokemon cards that I was collecting at the time, except for some of my favorite ones.
Snorlax.
Leave my Snorlaxes alone. Sold my Pokemon cards, and I played that one match with them with that deck, and I was like, "Yep, I'm into Magic now," because I had no way to play Pokemon with nobody. Like
most people are just collecting it.
Yeah, and I mean, I have some old like graded cards. I have a couple old graded cards. I have, and they're Snorlaxes or other things. But I had went and I was like, all right, cool. Now I'm playing. I'm invested. I want to play Magic. Yeah. and they were just about to drop the Lord of the Rings set around that time. Like, I had that deck for like a year or two before the Lord of the Rings set came out. And when the Lord of the Rings set came out, I was like, I want some Lord of the Rings cards.
Yep.
And I went to our shop, said, hey, I want to trade these in, see how much I can get. Like, I'm going to do store credit because I'm just going to dump store credit into Magic the Gathering. And I got like $400 of store credit. The guy was like, this is the most store credit I've given to one person, like, since I've opened this shop. So I'm like, okay. He's like, you don't have to spend it all today. I'm like, nope, I want this deck. I specifically know I want this one because it's a theme that I used to play when I played Magic back in the day. I love it.
Yeah.
I want this again. And then I was like, I want this Lord of the Rings, this Lord of the Rings. Give me one of them collector boxes up there.
Yeah.
Which by itself is like $200. But you get $400 worth of store credit, you spend it.
Yeah. I mean, I've done the same thing because I sold all my cards to the local card shop too when I played.
Now I have, I think, like 10 or 12 different commander decks,
Yep,
and they're just some of them I want to sell and get rid of just because I don't get to play them as much. Like, it's just, they're not really that fun. Like, my dragon deck that I have, I love playing that deck. It's super fun to play for me because it's the first commander deck that I built from the ground up. Like, a lot of them are a little bit like upgraded precons.
Yeah, modified precons. So you start adding better cards.
Because I like that level of play where I can do a modified precon and it still be,
I was just looking at the, because I like Magic. I don't like the keeping up with the Joneses aspect or the money. But, like, I like it from a board game perspective. If it's, you put a deck in front of me, I know how to play Magic. I just don't want to spend the money on it. But I was like, if I was spending money, I was buying precons. That's all I was going to do, and we just play with it. Cool. The thing that I would want to buy is the 40K commander decks, and I was while we were taking our little break, I was looking at cards. No, I'm not spending what they want on those right now. Even when they came out, they were expensive.
So they're a hot collector item too. So, and then they have the collector's editions of those decks, which is like super foiled out every card in there.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could probably find one that's not.
I'd want to get all four of them and then sleeve all four, so that when we played, it's like, let's play Warhammer Commander.
Yeah.
Because like I do like the lore of Warhammer, and I understand to play Commander. That's cool. So then if it's like, if I had an agreement with friends, and we're like, we're just going to collect pre-con Commander decks. We'll sit down, like, we want a themed one. Here's a bunch of Lord of the Rings ones or whatever.
That's what we did with Java. Whenever I convinced Java to get one, and next thing I know, he's like, I have 6 pre-cons now.
Yep.
A week later.
Yep. And he tried to get, I don't know if he ever got all the 40K ones, but he was trying to get them.
I think he said he's missing 1 or 2.
I suspect it's the Necron one, because I think he was buying one that was supposed to be the full set of 4, but then there was fine print, and they didn't send him the full set. They were missing one.
Yes.
They got a duplicate or something. Yeah, it's nonsense.
There was also, I seen somebody selling all the Lord of the Rings ones, all the Lord of the Rings precons for $235 roughly. And then, like, the thing about Magic is they took away MSRP, which was a dumb thing for, like, I don't know. I have my own thoughts on that.
I mean, unless they enforce it, independent shops or card shops can sell things, or just break them open and sell cards anyway. So it's hard to enforce unless you have an agreement on paper. Because there's going to be a market value.
They brought back MSRP. Yeah. So, like, with the last Foundation set, apparently MSRP came back. So it's a lot of people, the going forward stuff that is printed, like if what gets printed after that set, going back to MSRP, like that is the listed price that it needs to be sold at.
Yeah.
And that's going to force distributors to not have to be like, oh, we're going to charge you this much, or people just aren't going to buy from the distributors anymore. They're not going to make those orders.
Yeah.
So that's just a thing. But getting back to like the gaming aspect of like doing that stuff, that goes back to being able to like, you're not doing this thing where you're saying you pulled yourself away from 40K because it was not going the way that you like.
There's a variety of things, but yes.
Yeah, but one of the main things is you humbled yourself to say, hey, the game's not really for me. Like, I can still enjoy certain aspects of it, but playing the game is not for me anymore, and I'm not having fun doing it. I'm not being a good opponent for people to play against because they want something different out of the game. So yes, but our local meta specifically. Yeah.
Now, if you were to take my philosophy on what's fun for wargaming and you put me in a different town with a different shop, it may be different. I might still be playing because people might find interest more in what I do. For the same reason that, like, if you go to a shop and you want to play XYZ game and no one plays it, maybe you can drum it up or maybe you can't. So in this case, it's like 40K is the game, But 40K, the way I like to play it is they're a group. Yeah. And it's the same thing with D&D. There are a bunch of people who know how to play D&D. Are the people you're going to play D&D with going to be, are they going to mesh? And it's okay if you don't. Like you were saying, that guy who really likes the stats and the mechanics and that's all he cares about, that is okay. It just might not be what you like. And you might not, you just be like, hey man, we'll be friends, we're cool, but we don't mesh for D&D.
Yeah.
So there are people that play 40K locally that like, I'm friendly with them, I know them, we just don't game. And it's not because I'm being mean, it's because like, it's just not gonna be fun for either one of us.
That's how it was with one of our, I had to like, one of the guys that I worked with, he was not a good person to play D&D with.
Yeah.
Like, he came and sat down with a table with us once, and I was like, we're playing D&D and we're doing a narrative thing. Like I would be describing, because as the DM, I'm supposed to describe the environment and what's going on. I do the NPCs. You tell me what your characters are doing.
How are you interacting within the universe I have created?
Yeah, and every time I would describe something, he'd be like, well, I'm going to do this so that way that. So that way this and this and happen. And everything he said was, well, I'm going to do this so that way you can't do that. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this. And I'm like, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, if you're going to do that as a DM, then I'm just going to do this. And he was like trying to just counteract everything I was doing as far as like telling a story. And I'm like, dude, knock the fuck off.
Yeah, I mean, when I was DM in the Star Wars, anytime we had any kind of potential conflict with what I'm doing and the players, generally that was just you guys talking to me outside of the game because that's what you do.
Yeah.
You know, but like in this case, like it was something he was doing, not what you're doing, and you're having to have him interact with you.
And
but
it was making it to where it wasn't like the other people at the table, the other players at the table were not having fun anymore. So I had to be like, you're not coming back. No.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, we can work together. We can talk about other stuff, but you're not coming back to this D&E group because it's for the betterment of the group that this is not going to go well.
I watched a lot of videos that talk about that too, where it's like it's okay to try things out and see how you mesh, have conversations. If it doesn't work, find a different group. Like that is a thing. Or, you know, if you're a DM and someone's not working, have a conversation. Be like, here's what we expect. If you can't adapt and be this way for, you know, because it's the style we're playing, this just might not be the group for you. Like that's okay.
And we did a couple sessions with the same group where because we had one guy, he did like the meta game a little bit, and I had to pull him aside and talk to him like, look, man, I know you're a number cruncher and you're a big guy. Like he would be mid-game session, like, hey man, you need to pick this ability because talk to the other players because
let them make their decisions.
Let them pick what they wanted. You know, if we're starting out and you're making a fresh character and you say, hey man, this is the path that you want to take your character. These, this, and this ability would be better for you because of the stats, and that can be a thing.
Yeah.
But like in the middle of the campaign, like, oh, you got enough experience to get a level up, like, so then you start working away from experience-based leveling to milestone leveling. Like, how is your character developing?
Yeah.
Which I think is a good aspect to take. Now, to combat that, there were other sessions where, like, we would get new people. We would do sessions where we would, if we had a new person coming to play with us or something like that, or somebody that's not very familiar with D&D or very familiar with the combat part, we had sessions where we would go do a dungeon crawl specifically to, like, learn the aspect of moving within the space.
Yeah.
Like, you moving your character. And we would number crunch for a while.
Yeah.
And I had to have sessions like that so that way he was getting his enjoyment out of it. But we would all know that, like, hey, we're about to do a dungeon crawl. We're going to be here for a while doing this. Or we'd go into a political conversation. And then some of the people, like, I say political, like, in not real world politics, but like political
in-game politics.
Negotiations for what's going on with good guy versus bad guy in the D&D campaign. And there were certain people who got more out of that. There were certain people who I would have to, like, poke and prod a little bit more, but when they got into it, they got into it.
Yeah. Find it, making sure that if your group's cohesive enough that you find things that each player gets their enjoyment out of it. Some players like combat, some players like exploration, some players like the political intrigue or the interactions. So, like, if you can work that in, then everyone gets their opportunities.
Yep.
So it's like in Star Wars when you're doing it, if Java's trying to craft things, but I never give him opportunities to craft things, then why do you take the skills? That's what he enjoys. That's also why I really like how the XP works in that system is there's no, like, old school D&D where you're like keeping track of XP. Did you hit the level to level up? Got it. But that number doesn't mean anything until you level. And then the new one you said milestone. So when I was doing the D&D on World 20, the DM would just be like, you guys level up. You just hit a button. There's no XP. It just tells you, like, did you level up or not? Because this is the milestone of the session or the campaign. In Star Wars, I can arbitrarily give rewards based on how well you did to incentivize, and then here's your flat XP, and then you spend it how you want. I think that is very cool.
Yeah.
And then it's less about level and more about showcasing how you've developed skills as your characters improved, because that's what we'd be doing over time.
Or you have somebody like what I did with my character, and I had a good piloting skill, but I knew that like Kim wanted to make sure she was known as the best pilot, and then this, that, and the other, and she always messed it up.
Yep.
Like, I don't mean to call Kim out on the podcast,
Yep.
but like
Yep.
she would mess up the piloting stuff,
Yep.
and it turned out really funny because her character did have good piloting skills.
It's just the rolls.
Her rolls would never go out. And then the one time that I did start trying to pilot, like I
Aced the rolls.
nailed it on everything. It's
Yep.
computer generated.
Yep. Yep.
And then like she was like, "Where did you get this?" I've had this all along.
Yeah. I never did it. Yeah.
Sorry. You learn to drive a speeder.
Yeah.
And chases, you get good at flying.
Yeah.
But it was a good time, and that made it funny for the narrative for them to find out that I, like in that way that I was a good pilot. Like, wait, Daff can be flying our ship, and I'm not gonna though.
Yep.
I don't want to do it.
That was why I think, because I've been trying for a while to get an RPG group going. I think that's why I was interested in role-play games, because I could get the narrative aspect of what I enjoyed from 40K back in the day in a role-play environment, and the social aspect I got from 40K back in the day in a role-play environment, which is why I was so excited about it, because like we were literally forging and crafting narratives. That aspect is very cool.
I would definitely play that Star Wars game, or like run something in that universe again. Even if we just made up a different story, like I would.
If you want to, I'm happy to help work with you on that stuff, because I think it's fascinating. I don't have the time. And then like I like D&D, but like when I exited the other group, it was around the same time. But I had already been having issues, and was talking to Kim about those issues, because we had two players in the group that I just didn't mesh with. And
Yeah, I remember you talking about that.
We had the power gamer and actually they're both power gamers basically, and they're cool enough, and the one guy I've been friends with for a long time, so super cool with them. But like when it comes to role play games, it's a lot, like what he's interested in, and then having someone railroad. So like in the campaign that I ran with you guys, trying to make sure everyone had opportunities to do things and try and like see how the personalities are meshing, and is someone super strong-willed and like someone else not getting to really have an impact, and then try and give them agency. And in the campaign session with these players, like my character very quickly became obsolete. I played Bard, so I could play music to inspire. It got to a point where people were so powerful, the main two guys were so powerful that the inspiration never mattered. And then the one guy, because he was a druid, could tank better, or he could tank better than anyone else in the group. And when he shifted, he could heal better than everyone else in the group. And he also did more damage than most people in the group. So I'm like, my inspiration doesn't matter. My combat doesn't matter, my healing doesn't matter, and we're not in positions where my character can actually do the persuasion, performance, and deception that he's good at. Because my character could, like, stats-wise, that was what he could do. It's like I go in and I lie. I'm a bard. I entertain people and I act.
But y'all weren't given any of the like narrative conversational pieces for you to be able to showcase that.
And when I did, they didn't matter. And then the one player, when we were having a serious conversation about something, he's like, "Well, I wouldn't let you do this anyway because I wouldn't trust you." I'm like, "But why? Why would your character? I've given you zero reason. You wouldn't know. Like I literally like, give me the role. I can convince you right now that I have medical training, guaranteed. My character will bluff his way through that.
Yeah.
You have no reason to immediately think I'm a liar. I've given you no reason to. So that's one of those like, out of game, you know that my character could bullshit. In game, I should be able to attempt to bullshit." And then like the DM's like, no, there should be an opposed roll equivalent of Star Wars. Like he's gonna roll to see if like he, whatever it needs to be. Did him explaining his medical training, did you believe it? And then like, do you make a knowledge check or whatever to see if like you can dig further? Like all those things to then forge the story. But it was just like, nah, I wouldn't trust you. I wouldn't let you do that. I'm like, okay, cool. Pointless. And then some
you had an opportunity for interaction and rolling and like inter-character stuff between the party. Like you had an opportunity for that. You had an opportunity to play a role-playing game, to play a role in a role-playing game, and you didn't take it.
And I specifically took things on my character that didn't matter. So like that would be cool. So I had like Mage Hand, which could be fun, but mostly just to play around with. I could cast invisibility, which I really want an opportunity to turn someone invisible and them not realize I did it.
Oh god,
that
would be funny.
Yeah, and someone's like walking to the thing, and everyone's like, "Where did this character go?" And they're like, "I'm right here." Like, whoa, where's he at? Like, because they didn't know, no one knew that I could do that, and I was never given the opportunity. But like, I would make character decisions based on what I think would be cool from the character's perspective. but I know that they were bad decisions. Not for the character, they're bad decisions because in a role-play game, sometimes you're like, that decision is stupid, but this character does it because that's his story and what he would do. The same reason why in real life I'm not going to go pickpocket someone, but if I'm playing a rogue and you walk by me, I might just be like, you know what, jingle, jingle, what you got? And then get caught, and then everyone's in combat now because the rogue got caught, thieving somebody, but that's what the rogue does. Like, you make decisions that this might not be the best time that I try and pickpocket someone, but nah, I'm tempted, I'm doing it. Like, I thought we're going to do it. Why? It's stupid? Because I'm a rogue. It's what we do. We're greedy. So you being able to make decisions based on what your character would do and what's fun, not based on, the meta. My interest in...
It eliminates the point in having the other options.
Yes, yeah, why? Which is why, with the way that the campaign was going, I would just get in and I'd basically mute my mic and wait to talk and occasionally talk and then just be there. Yeah. And that's why I was like, I'm trying, but I'm just not having fun. I can't. And then I came up with that. So the whole backstory for my character and his sister was like, I'm a bastard child who's an heir to the throne. The mom wants to have me killed, so I can't have any claim. So her trueborn baby can do it. And I was like, okay, well, if my character was going to go out, it's because her assassins find us. And then we have this cool fight scene or something.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I sent you the story, but
you did.
Okay, yeah. I thought it was fucking cool. And he goes out fucking singing and then just he's sitting on a log just playing his lute or whatever because that's what he would do, and he's gone. And I was like, that's pretty cool. But that didn't matter because they started over and deleted all the story anyway. So,
yeah. It is what it is. It's not. I don't want to get on a downer about all that stuff.
I mean, there was fun experiences. I think it just comes down to in that one. That one was less mental health and more there were two. The DM was good, and Kim and the other lady that we're playing with were great. It's just two of the players, which is half of the PCs, had different interests and. Or almost a little under half the PCs. Two of the five had their own way, and they really could railroad where we were going.
Yeah.
And one of the players was very new, and she was the Chaos Goblin and made stupid decisions that were awesome, and I was there for it. I constantly encouraging her with all the stupid shit she was doing because it was fun, and it was the naivety of a new player who's like, what's that? I'm going to go push that button. I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. Because, you don't know, and, it's fun, and, because once you play D&D forever, you're like, oh, everyone knows that this thing is the way you kill a troll. But does your character know that?
Yeah.
You know that. So her learning what I thought was fun, and then, Kim was pretty go with the flow, and then I was trying to be go with the flow, which meant that because we had a new player, and then two that were real, let's try and mold and adapt. Well, we molded and adapted to the way they wanted to play, and then we didn't get to play. That's what was happening. So I was and now I'm out. So, yep.
So back to our original point of how we met.
Yeah, which I think
how we made this wonderful joining of Justin's.
Yeah. So good.
Well, it got me the Warhammer thing, and then for the last year and a half, 2 years, you've been trying to talk to me about Battletech since you started doing this stuff.
Yep.
I never even got to play a game of Warhammer with you.
Yep.
With my Space Wolves that I had. I ended up selling the Space Wolves because, one, I just needed the money at the time. And I wasn't doing nothing with them. I had
it's collecting dust.
cases, I had a tub full of Space Wolves that I hadn't done anything with. And I didn't have anybody to play with anywhere near me. So there was no point in me having that stuff. And it was just taking up space in my closet. So I'm very, in our house, I start going into cleaning mode where I'm like, I haven't used this thing in 6 months. It's getting the hell out of here.
Yeah.
Clean up. That's what I do with Tristan's toys. We rotate out. You haven't played with these toys and God knows how long. Start doing a clean out. We have a full box of stuff that we're putting in yard sales. Either we put it in yard sales, and we do the yard sales because we teach him, you can get rid of stuff. We do the yard sales. Whatever we make from selling his toys, half of that goes into his piggy bank, and the other half he can go get another toy if he wants, or we give him a little bit of money to go pick out a toy or whatever. Go pick him out something. So he's learning that he can save some money, and it's going into his actual savings account.
Yeah.
Trying to do something that I didn't necessarily get when I was growing up, which was a little bit of the ability to set yourself up, save financially.
Yeah.
Well, my mom and dad just didn't make a lot of money to save.
Yep,
they were just making money to feed 5 kids.
Yep. Sometimes what you got to do.
Yeah. And that ended up being how that went for a while. So, and I was still painting minis. I still had fun with it. And then up until I didn't get back into actually mini painting even though we were still talking, we were still like, hey,
Yeah.
you know, hanging out on Facebook or talking on Facebook, doing whatever. We didn't. What it wasn't, but like when I started streaming for a little bit, because I tried streaming for a little bit with playing some video games and stuff and cards, and it, you know, I got a little ways with that, and it was fun. Streaming, playing Call of Duty for a little bit, and that was
we
was
did
fun.
play some Call of Duty, because I played Warzone with you for a little bit.
Yeah, you were playing Warzone with me and Ryan, and we were playing.
And Christian some. We played a little bit with him.
Well, yeah, when Christian wanted to play with us, but he's too busy with his friends.
Yeah, well, when he did play,
Silly
he was really
teenagers.
good. He was very good.
Yeah.
Support was good.
Yeah,
Ryan was pretty solid too, if I recall.
His autism focus got to him.
Yeah.
Ryan would get mad at me because I would go off. Like, I have a tendency to squirrel brain when we're playing, and like that's why like we're talking about like somebody on the team like not wanting the same thing out of you or like being at a different skill level.
Yeah.
Like there were times where I was playing with some of my friends that I work with, and their skill level was way above mine. Like I started catching up with them later on. But their skill level, and they were grinding it out on these games. So they had like all the best gear, the best perks that they can have, the perfect perk setup, the movement was down.
Yeah.
And then I was just like falling behind in kills, and they're like, dude, you're like dragging us down. Like we're not getting, oh man, we can't get a win tonight. We can't place in top 10.
Yeah.
We can't do, and I'm like, I'm just having fun running around shooting people.
Yeah.
Like I just want to play Warzone, run around, snipe some people. And eventually that's where I found my spot at, was like being the mid-range sniper that we had.
Yeah.
I was a mid-range sniper and when I was moving, I was running with a submachine gun.
Yeah.
And I got really good at doing that.
I was just always bad at shooters. Yeah.
Were you playing with us when we had that guy that we were? What was the objective-based one where you had to take your gear and extract out of a landing zone in Call of Duty?
I don't remember.
Was it drop zone? No. Well, whatever they called that thing. There was one where we saw a guy running with a weapons case, and like you get these things and you can get the skin for the weapon.
Oh, yes.
And we hit him with the truck and
yeah.
knocked him out. And they were like, hey man, join our team. We won't kill you. And I want to see if we can get this case with you. He's like, what? Are you serious? We're like, yeah, join us. And he joined us. There's some random dude just joined us. And he's like, thanks for not killing me. We're like, let's see if we can all get the skin. Like, dude had went and found the skin, did all the stuff for it, and then we escorted him to the helicopter, and we all got it.
Nice.
That was fun. I got a clip of that on my TikTok. Well, you won't be able to see that now.
Maybe. We'll see if they end up actually pulling it down or not. Yeah.
But
Yeah, so you're talking about I got you into Battletech finally.
yeah, you had bought me the Battletech thing when I was streaming the
Game of Armor Combat.
Game of Armor
Yep.
Combat, the original, that one. You bought me that, and it sat in my shelf for like a year, and I was like, I just had not painted. I had my box of paints.
Yep.
I had a box of stuff from you at one point where you sent me a bunch of stuff that you just hadn't painted.
Yep.
And it was just like random like Reaper miniatures and stuff that you just had no interest in painting. And it was a lot more towards the fantasy and D&D stuff that I was in. And you sent me that stuff, and I just sat there with it for like a year or two, and then eventually I can't remember what I picked up, and I wanted to paint. And I primed up, what was it? No, I painted the orc guy that I had. I was painting him on stream over Christmas break with when the school was on Christmas break. And I was like, okay, get back into painting some stuff. And I picked up him, and it's the orc guy, the orc mega boss from it was the mega boss from Age of Sigmar.
Yeah.
Because I just genuinely like that model. That model looks cool as shit to me. And I put him on a base. I custom made a base with cork and stuff like that. Made like a little skull statue that he was like looking at and stuff, or like a little monument. My thinking, like when you say making a narrative, like I think, and I don't know if you remember making this comment, but you made a comment to me one time like that, like the way that I do bases for minis. Usually when I do a base, like if I make it out of whatever, like they end up being really good. Yeah. Because in my mind, like I don't get to make the model. I can pose the model I'm not very good at kit bashing, but I can make the environment. Yeah. Like you can have the same model painted a million different ways and it give off a different vibe, but it's still going to be in that pose for whatever reason, especially like Warhammer models. Like
they've gotten more, the posing has gone down. Quality, the cool minis have gone up, but you can't pose them as much as you used to.
Yeah.
So.
And like for me, you can create an entirely different mood from that. And you're forging a story when you put that many in a different base and in a different environment, which is why I took a totally different approach from what I did with the 8th Ghost Regiment Battletech minis versus what I did with these guys that I got now for the. I'm not going to spoil what they are. Well, they're Clan Ghost there.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know when this will go.
I don't know what division and all of those. I just painted them with that color scheme, that gray and blue color scheme. And I think they look pretty cool.
They're very cool. Yep.
But like, I eventually got into Battletech, and I came down here. What was that? No,
it was. I don't remember
because I came down for your. It was in November. It was in the beginning of November.
No, November was when you came down for Ren Fair. The other one was still warm outside because we painted on the patio and it was still mowing.
Oh,
yeah. So that would have been. It was. That might have been my birthday.
No, it wasn't your birthday.
Okay. So then it might have been.
It was sometime in between that.
I don't think it was before my birthday. It might have been like right after Nova.
Maybe.
Yeah, because like you came back like it might have because like between seeing you and then Ren Fair was pretty like I think it was actually whenever you came we pitched the Ren Fair idea.
Yep.
And then you asked Amanda and then we made.
She was like, "Let's do it."
Yeah.
And then we were like, "Cool."
Yeah, but it was definitely tail end of summer or beginning of fall because it was still hot out and we could be out there in like t-shirts or whatever and he was mowing. So,
yeah. Green grass was still outside.
Yeah, green grass was definitely still outside. It just took me months to get all the footage edited.
And I thoroughly enjoyed playing the game, like learning it and playing it. I'm not gonna lie. Tomorrow, when we start filming some games, I'm gonna have to have like a little reminder on the rules, and maybe run a scenario too. Like I got the basics down, but it's one of those things I need a refresher course. So I'm gonna let you know I need that.
I mean, it's fine. Like it's the game is simple enough that it's not that like it takes a couple of minutes, not a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's cool. We can but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I thought about painting the minis that I have now, the Ghost Bear guys, as the same ones that I had before, but then I was like, I don't necessarily want to do that.
Yeah.
Like the ones that I have for that are that little squad, and I can always get or add more or do whatever.
Because currently you've got an Intersphere force and you have a clan force right now.
Yep.
So you can add more to them. The only thing you're missing is a merc force. Like then you'd have kind of representation from all three types of factions.
I can still do a merc force with a lot of the salvage things.
Yeah. Some of them. They just might not be cohesive.
Yeah.
Because I think there was 2 Wolf Dragoons I think that we did. We did 1 Crescent Hawk and 1, was it Kellhounds? No, that one was created. It was the gray and the red, which is sort of Kellhounds.
Yeah, the
red and gray, yeah. Yeah, you could. Yeah.
But no, it'll be fun. I think we'll have fun regardless tomorrow. And it's been fun doing that stuff, and it's made me want to like change up some of my painting stuff. Like I want to get into it. I have painted a bust for somebody recently, for another officer.
Yep.
He had one of our other buddies 3D print him a Deadpool bust in a resin 3D printer, and I painted that, and I was thoroughly surprised at how well I did it with that. Like I'm not trying to toot my own horn here, but I was like, I didn't know I could paint this good.
Yeah.
So now like I want to get more into painting bust, and one thing that I really want to work on, and I told you about this last night when we were a little tipsy, I want to work on like being able to do flesh tones, because like I always have this thing where like flesh tones always end up looking chalky for me and kind of clunky no matter what paint brand I use or whatever. Like they look, I don't know how to apply like the pale white flesh tone, or even painting dark flesh tones for like dark-skinned individuals is a totally different thing. Yeah. I wasn't African Americans because, like, in a world they're not.
Well, yeah. So I'm thinking like in like
melanated skin tones.
Yeah. If you have a brown skin complexion, like, and there's various levels of that. The tan, more tannish, or you on the more brown side. Yeah.
But you're gonna start with using like. You're gonna start using like the brownish purple in there, where versus like with a pale skin tone, you're gonna use pinks. You're going to use a lot of pink and then some beige and white over that, or even a little bit of yellow in there, depending on the lighting conditions. And like I really want to learn how to do some of that stuff, so that way it'll help with bust.
Yeah, the thing with bust that really helps too, now that you're rocking airbrush, is you can get a lot of work done with the airbrush.
Yeah,
and then mask off and spray other stuff if you need to.
I am loving using the airbrush. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, the airbrush is a game changer. I get comments on YouTube frequently about people who don't want one, but I still think it is the one tool that you should get outside of having
even if I just have it for like, I can do one main color over whatever I do.
Base coat, prime, and then having the ability to hit your guys with matte varnishes and not worry about the temperature if you're in a climate control room.
With the Ghost Bear, dudes, all I did was I primed them with the Rust-Oleum cans. Primed them. I'm gonna get some of the Monument Hobbies cans.
They're very good.
For them. Painted them with the Rust-Oleum cans. Did a zenithal over the top with. I didn't even use white primer paint. I just took really thin down white paint with a bunch of flow improver and water, and just lightly sprayed over that for the zenithal highlight.
Yeah.
And then I did I did that, and I built it up from the gray. Like I did like a darker gray, and then worked that up to a little bit more of a white, and then washed it, which dulled it back down just a little bit, but you can still see the transition up top.
Yeah.
And I did that, and then I was like, okay, cool. I'm just gonna add some blue panels and markings and other stuff. I'm gonna probably go back in and do some like caution lines and stuff like that. So hazard stripes.
Yeah.
Do that kind of stuff later on. But for now, they look good. They're tabletop ready. I did the base.
Yeah, yeah, they are more done, unless you went back and base. They're more done than the Draconis Combine guys were.
I added some of the same texture stuff, the texture paste.
Okay.
To them, so they're a little bit more like a. I think it looks cool because they look like they're in like an oily, like rocky kind of thing. Because I use the Monument Hobbies
texture paste.
Their texture paste for the one. It's like a blue dark gray-ish type color thing, and it dries a little bit like same.
Okay. Yeah.
It worked out. Anywho, yeah. So I'm looking forward to playing some games and doing all that stuff.
And then moving forward with the channel, and as we will wind down to this podcast, because I think we've got another one that's going to be a two-parter here. So talking about other games you may have interest in things on the channel if things pan out. So we've talked about Star Wars Legion.
Yes, I want to try that.
If the trade from the guy on Discord that I've been talking to happens, I should have a nice chunk of Rebels and clones for you to work on, which will be a nice departure from Battletech. And then also clones are more armored, and then Rebels are more cloth and skin tones and aliens. So you've got a couple different things to do. And then I gave you an MCP box, which might inspire you to either paint something new and or be like, yo, these guys look dope. I'd like to try the game. Because I've got a bunch of...
the Mark Crest program.
Yep, MCP. And then I've got Shatterpoint that I'm working on. I've been building. And hopefully over the year, this year, if I can get enough of them painted, I can have a force where I can show you how to play, and you just grab some dudes and play that game. And if you're inspired to paint some, that's up to you too. You can get whatever you want, but I will have models to paint.
If you're willing to do it, apparently Bandai, or I don't know if it's Bandai or the Gundam game, like if it's like a little skirmish game, I would love to do that because if I can get a Gundam and make a little custom Gundam on a mini and I've been following that. I've been trying to convince Austin at DRD to pick it up because they do board game night, and like he might be interested, and I could just play with it. Or if you get one, I'll play it. He's a big Gundam fan, right? He's a big Gundam fan. He's got like 50 Gundam boxes or something that are unbuilt right now. Something. He's got some insane number of Gundams. Yeah, it's great. Tristan loves building Gundams with me. That's my introduction into getting him into model stuff right now.
Yeah. If you were talking to Austin about Gundams, he is full on into he has clips for every individual part and the panel etchings and the super cleaners and all the mess. Gosh. He's following the YouTubers who do I bought a Gundam and I ultra premium did everything and painted it and decaled it and did whatever and then posed it on a fancy stand. That's the kind of stuff he's trying to do. It's crazy. Yeah. I ain't got the time for it. It looks really cool, but no time for that. So
yeah.
I feel like there's probably other questions we could ask, but I think this one has probably ran its course. If we would do another segment, I think talking about how painting or gaming has impacted mental health stuff. I think if we get into that, we're going to be here for another hour.
We'll do 2 or 3 hours on that easy.
Yeah, so that might be just another segment we do. But I do think it's good to dive into because the interest in Magic, in minis, in D&D, and what some of that allows you to do with coping mechanisms or just mental health in general. And when I spoke with John, talking a little bit more, I don't know if I actually used PTSD as a term, but talking about has this helped you cope with stuff that you went through overseas? For you, that conversation may be more well, you said that your time over there wasn't anything crazy, but maybe this is a way for you to be some of my everyday life stuff that I've done as a cop, this is a way for you to shove that away.
A lot more messed up stuff as a cop.
Yeah, so diving into that, and it's equally possible. You're actually the minis have it. It's just a side thing. That's possible too. Because when Mike was on the podcast, it wasn't a thing. It just didn't connect the same way, which is interesting because I assumed going in that this was a cathartic experience for everyone, but it's it's different for everybody who's into it, what they get out of it. So I think that'd be a good topic for us to dive into in another episode. It's just not going to be this one because this one's long. And to be honest with you guys, we've been out here most of the afternoon, and I have felt the temp change. I don't know about you, my feet are freezing.
My fingertips are getting cold. That's why I'm holding on to them right now doing this.
I've been kind of like fidgeting and doing this and then curling my toes and rolling. We have felt the temp gradually drop out here, and I didn't realize because we're in a room with no windows, I didn't realize how late it had gotten. And at one point I was like, man, the temp really, really dropped. No, we've just been out here for 5 hours.
And there's no sun.
Outside. Yeah. So
you've taken the light away, sir.
Yeah. So not sure when these will go up, but we should have probably 4 segments from these 2 episodes that we'll carve up and put up. And then tomorrow, again, these are going to air in different orders, but tomorrow Daff is going to film some games with me, and hopefully we'll have some gameplay videos. And then if I get him back out in a couple of months or something, maybe we can try and do some Star Wars Legion. I'm really excited about it. Oh, I did forget one more thing. If I get them, when they come in, if I can get them built and painted, I'm supposed to be getting sent the like beginner's essential box, whatever they're calling it, for Infinity, which I think is like 3 models versus 3 models, so we could try another different system. And I figure over the course of doing some different games, start to like get a feel for like, that one was a fun, game to try, but like not interested in exploring more of it. Okay, or if it's like that was fun, do more. Start to kind of get a feel for trying new games on the channel and differentiate. I love Battletech, but for obvious reasons, trying to diversify and try new stuff. Not only for the obvious reason, but I think for me, like, you don't know what you like until you try something, and being open-minded to trying new games, especially these smaller scale skirmish stuff, whereas like 40K, if you want to try 40K, it's not cheap, especially if you want to try a new army in 40K, whereas like approaching Infinity could be affordable, Legion could be affordable, Shatterpoint.
I've been trying to get into like the smaller thing with Warhammer, like Kill Team. Like I was looking at box of Kill Team prices, like their start, like just one Kill Team was like $90. Like anywhere between $70 and $90.
Yep. Yeah, and looking at now it was on sale, but on Black Friday, I got it for Christmas, and I asked for it during Black Friday so they would get the deal. But I got the Shatterpoint starter box from my mother, and I think that was on sale for $80 or $90, and that was discounted from I think $130, something like that.
It's like $135, $140.
Yeah, and it has a lot of minis, and it has some terrain in it, and it's plenty for 2 people to easily play. So then I was like, okay, there's a lot of meat here.
Yeah.
Whereas like a Kill Team, like you're getting like 10 minis or something.
It's anywhere between like 10 to 12, I think, usually. Yeah,
so it's like it's not a huge amount, and it's only for enough for you to play. Whereas Shatterpoint, I got enough in there for 2 people easy,
Yeah.
So, but there'll be that just opens up the door for new stuff on the channel. At some point, we'll probably dive into maybe some Steel Rift. I know I've been talking about it for a while, it just hasn't happened. And then kind of just see where we go. I really wanted to try War Machine Mark IV, I think, but Steamforged never responded to me. I tried because I wanted to do it, but I've been working with companies who are interested in providing review material before I spend money. And they didn't, but Corvus Belli sent in stuff, which makes me feel better about spending more money. So, and then hopefully, I don't know when it'll go up, but somewhere around the time we start doing some 28-32 scale infantry battle games, I'll pull out the video will go up for the Acid House terrain review that I've got that's edited and ready to go. And then hopefully when their terrain becomes available, if they send me a copy to review for their epic scale for like Battletech, I'm gonna review that. If they opt to not send it, I'm just probably gonna buy it. It's really cool stuff, and it's pre-colored, and I think it's gonna be really good to showcase on the channel and change up the table without me having to actually paint more terrain. And then waiting to hear back from another terrain company about some stuff to review that's good for 28 mil stuff too. So lots of things to come hopefully across this year, but like building and painting takes time, and I'm a one-man show with that stuff, so it's when it gets done, it gets done. Yeah. And I'm really also excited about MCP because X-Men, whenever I finally get them painted, I want to do it. So.
Oh, give me a Gambit and Nightcrawler.
Oh, the Gambit is dope. I can show you the Nightcrawler at home. I'm not sure what
I was trying to find, like, every time I find somewhere that has MCP stuff, like, I'm like, I want to paint a Venom mini so bad.
Yeah.
I want a Venom mini.
He's very cool. I think he's in the core box, though. I think Venom might be in the core box. Oh, he might be an expansion. He might be on a Hulk base. I don't remember. We'd have to look. Yeah. That said, folks, if you guys enjoyed this, smash that like and subscribe button if you want to help support the channel.
If you didn't like this, comment and let us know.
I'm sure they probably already have at this point. But yes, get that conversation going down below. If you want to help support the channel, easiest and most direct ways to hop on that Patreon, but there's also some links in the description below for sponsors that you can pick up products from. Helping support them also helps support me too, but Patreon is definitely the way to go if you want to. And if you enjoy this and want to see more, let us know. If there's some games that I've missed that you think would be cool to showcase on the channel, let us know. We'll check it out. But that said, I think that's all we've got for you guys today. Anything from you?
I'm going to self-plug. I do wands.
Oh, he does wands. If you're interested in some Harry Potter wands,
No.
we will get a link in the description, except you can't get access to your Etsy for your Juan page.
Shut up.
You're going to have to make a
I
new
can start
page.
posting them on Instagram or make a separate Instagram.
Just make a new
page for
Etsy.
that. Okay.
How,
I might.
how you going to sell wands if you ain't got a page to sell them?
Man, get out of here. Let's go home.
Anyway, thank you guys for watching. As always, keep rolling your dice, keep painting your models, and we will catch you guys next time.
Ooh woo.
Did you say ooh woo? Thank you so much for watching and being here with me today. I pour a lot of time and passion into every video, and I genuinely hope it adds something to your hobby experience. If you've enjoyed today's content and want to see more, consider supporting me over on Patreon. Every little bit of support helps fuel what I'm doing here, and it truly makes a difference. Whether it's a few dollars or simply sharing the channel with others, your support means the world to me and allows me to keep doing what I love and hopefully inspiring you along the way. A huge thank you as well to all my sponsors, Monument Hobbies, Fortress Miniatures and Games, Baron of Dice, and Deathler Designs as well. Their backing is vital to the channel, and if you're in the market for top quality paints, miniatures, dice, or terrain, please check out their links below. Not only will you be picking up some great products, but you'll also be supporting this growing community we share together. Thank you so much for watching, and for your time, and for being a part of this journey with me. As I sign off today, let's go ahead and highlight some awesome patrons who are helping fuel this journey we're on together and helping keep things going.